Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good afternoon everybody. It's Saturday the 22nd. It's 2:22. I like 222s. But anyway, interesting information, and obviously this week has been pretty exciting for a lot of people because the data that we bring at patreon.com is phenomenal. Discord has been packed, plenty of data, a lot of good and a lot of fun, a lot of emotion, of course, because times are tough for a lot of people, and I understand that. And we've been in this for so long. Some of us have been in the crew over 20 years. And me 15, even if it's 2 years, it's like, oh, let's go. I mean, especially with all the information that we have. Ever since al-Sudani got into office, it's been amazing. But hey, there's an article that came out yesterday, and it had a lot of people kind of pumped and excited, which is good, because there is some good in it and some reality in it. But you're going to see today that there was a little bit of a change in the thought process about this. But ultimately, this article coming out of the Middle East, it says, Trump gives Baghdad a choice. It says, export Kurdistan's oil or face sanctions like Iran. And this was revealed by a mainstream media. It says, details of U.S. pressure exerted by the administration of President Donald Trump on the Iraqi government in order to expedite the resumption of the export oil from the Kurdistan region via the Turkish Ceyhan port or pipeline, or face economic sanctions as is happening with the neighboring country. The media says that they have direct knowledge of this issue. We'll see about that in the future. But it says, increasing pressure from the new U.S. administration was a major driver behind the Iraq oil minister's announcement last Monday that exports from the region would resume next week. Well, as far as I'm concerned, and the way Iraq rolls, that starts tomorrow. So it doesn't mean it's going to start tomorrow, but that's the beginning of the week. It says a quick resumption of oil exports from Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdistan region would help offset a potential drop in Iranian oil exports, which Washington has pledged to cut to zero as part of the administration's maximum pressure campaign. It says the oil flow would mark the end of a nearly 2-year conflict that has cut off more than 300,000 barrels per day. I think it's something around 400,000, but anyway, flowing through the Kurdistan region into Turkey and onto global markets. It says Iran wields significant military and political and economic influence in Iraq through its powerful Shia militias and political parties it backs in Baghdad. I would keep that in mind. But the increased U.S. pressure comes at a time when the neighboring country has been weakened by attacks from regional proxies. He goes on and says, the pipeline carrying the crude from Kurdistan to the Turkish port of Ceyhan was closed since 2023. You guys, that's 2 years. Yeah, Kurdish oil smuggling by the neighboring country by truck has flourished. 6 of the 8 sources said the United States is urging Baghdad to curb the flow. So putting pressure on because they're smuggling oil. So it says Washington is pressuring Baghdad to ensure that crude oil from the region is exported to global markets via Turkey rather than sold cheaply to Iran. There's a lot more to the article, but look, you can come in and get it at patreon.com/Militia Man and Crew, and then also our Discord chat room with Militia Man's chat room as for those free members that come in. You get, not free members, but for paid members, we get a free membership to Discord. And that's at Militia Man's chat room. It goes on and says, it is possible for Iraq to restart pipeline and remain compliant with OPEC. So there is a plan and there is a way. And it also just tells us that there's clear pressure is up on Iraq to stay the course. I mean, to me, this news is somewhat intense. And it also suggests that power players are making sure that Iraq stays on board with her reforms. So that's that added pressure. I suspect that this pressure is effectively going to be used to keep Iraq on track and get this going, because you know what, losing $20 billion, and there's a lot of companies that are in the Kurdistan region that are losing a lot of money as well. So there's a lot of pressure. So I think that's pretty fascinating to see that article out. And so into the next article, this one says that supporting industrial zones. There's a meeting between Masur Barzani and the delegation from the International Finance Corporation. I'm not sure if you guys know what the Financial Corporation does, but in 2025, the Financial Corporation is working with Iraq government to strengthen investment files, develop airports, and support the private sector growth. It says that investment ties, where are they? It says the IFC and the Kurdistan Regional Government, which is the KRG, are working to increase investment opportunities and cooperation. And then it says the IFC is helping to develop industrial zones in its global standards. They also have their hands on the airports. It also has their hands on the private sector. So anyway, this gentleman by the name of what's his name? Al-Jabah. It says there are ways to enhance cooperation and joint coordination to advance local and foreign investment, and benefit from the institution's expertise in supporting economic development, especially in the industrial zones. Remember, the development path is going to be going all the way through this whole situation. And so there's going to be a lot of money to be made, and it's going to be a lever, if you will. I think the term has been used. It's the tool. It's the mechanism. All right. Those are the buzzwords that you have to realize that when they use them, they might have different meanings for different things, but they're not going to tell you we're revaluing the currency tomorrow. We're not doing this, but they will tell you supporting industrial zones. It's a meeting between Masur Barzani and a delegation from the International Financial Corporation. It says they received a delegation from the International Finance Corporation, and they discussed specifically supporting industrial zones. Al-Jabal, the gentleman, says there are ways to enhance cooperation and joint coordination to advance local and foreign investment and benefit from the institution's expertise in supporting economic development, especially in the industrial zones. You guys keep in mind the development path is going to have commercial, industrial cities, residential complexes, and everything that supports all that. It's going to be massive. It says the IFC delegation praised the reform program implemented by Kurdistan regional government, especially with regard to diversifying the economy and focusing on the agriculture, industry, and industrial zones. They're talking about banks, and they're talking about energy sectors. So all of that's inclusive. The meeting discussed the results of implementing the agreement that they concluded, which is a big part, between the International Finance Corporation and the Investment Authority of the regional government. And so you guys think about it for a minute. They have, the IFC is an arm of the World Bank. It gives you an idea where the money's coming from. So basically, what I get from the Kurds, from Barzani, is this is where they need to get on board. Apparently, they get the picture now. I think Barzani got the picture. There's no turning back, and the plan's going to go forward. I think we can see the evidence of that with all the pressure we see in the last couple of days. So ultimately, I think that what we're watching is the heat is up, and I like it. It's good. Okay, there was another article with Ashur. It says Iraq's strategic location puts it on the map of global interest. So really, Iraq's strategic location, just like they've always said, the development road path is going to go from the east to the west. So this Mr. Hani Ashur, he's an academic. Okay, so Ashur, he states that large economic partnership signed between Britain will open wide doors for British companies to work in fields of the energy sector, roads, and others. We're talking about infrastructure in the latter part. Al-Sudani's visit to the United States of America also contributed to strengthening the cooperation with American companies, noting that Iraq has succeeded in establishing strong political, diplomatic, economic relations with surrounding countries and Arab countries, which has had a positive impact on the political and economic situation in the country. And obviously we've been watching that for the last couple of years. He says the next stage requires al-Sudani to make greater efforts to improve Iraq relations with other countries outside of the United States and Britain, and also to expand areas of cooperation with other countries, taking advantage of Iraq's strategic location, economic capabilities, especially in the oil and investment sector, which I take to be the investment sector, which is the private sector. Stressing that investing in associated gas that was previously burned constitutes an important economic opportunity, and the current stability and the people's desire, so they have stability and they have the people's will or their desire to improve services, support the continuation of this positive trend. So the people know about it, they're embracing it, and they're all for it. Why? Because they're going to benefit from it. So the Prime Minister's participation in the Munich Security Conference that was in Germany just recently, where Iraq was able to open new horizons for international cooperation and partnerships based on common interests. Look, al-Sudani's made, to me, he's made massive strides in moving the country forward into full integration. You're going to see an article talking about, from al-Sudani, he's going to use that word, integration. But here it says that I put out the country in full integration with global arena. So I stated this, and then we see something today that's going to talk about it. Not that I have a crystal ball or anything. I'm not saying that. But anyway, I think al-Sudani knows the truth. Okay, I think he really does. And we're watching it to be told. That's what he's doing. He's been doing a very good job. Everybody around the world's paying attention. And they're pushing him. They're pushing him. I think it's great. Okay, there's no way out. Here's this article. Yeah. It says there's no way out except through radical and immediate reform. So they're using words radical and immediate. So this is a guy by the name of Mishan al-Jabouri, warns of a stifling financial crisis and calls for reducing the dollar price. Well, they can't do that unless, of course, they do what? They raise the value of the currency. They can do that, but other than that, they can't change the value of the dollar. This is not going to happen. Okay. In this article, though, down a little bit, it says there's no way out except through radical and immediate reforms, starting with restoring the exchange rate to what it was. Well, didn't al-Sudani talk about the glory days? Didn't he say that in the past that the dollar would be the dinar would be stronger? Ah, he did. He says reforming the management of border crossings. Have they done that yet? I think they have. Activating the collection of taxes. Oh, I'm pretty sure that we're going to find out that they've done that as well. Taxes in their service bills. Really? So they're charging people monthly on their electricity. And stopping financial corruption. So all of those things come into play. But he goes on and he says also necessary is to recover the stolen funds. I think everybody knows that there's some Iraqis out there. They've been doing corruption since 2003. And I also think since 2012 and 2016 and the dollar auctions. I think there's a lot of politicians that are probably sweating over that because they're going to try to recover stolen funds, and this new electronic system is going to be able to find that. And those international companies like Ernst & Young and K2 and Oliver Wyman and etc. have probably gone through the books now for the last 2 years and probably know a lot more. You got to realize this blockchain technology hasn't just been around for a few years. It's been ongoing for a long time. And I think if you pay attention to some of the things about some of the things that we talk about on some of our side channels in Militia Man and Crew at Patreon, but we have a Discord chat room that have some sub-threads, some things about information about cryptos and things of that nature. I think you're going to find some very interesting things. That you'll find that there's some companies that have been worked with Ripple or XRP, if for some people. But the bottom line is, it goes back as far back as about 11 years. So keep in mind, there's a lot of information, and those folks that have been stealing a lot of money are going to have some problems. So anyway, this gentleman, to me, he's telling it like it is. I mean, they're making a radical move, like adjusting her currency exchange rate would be able to be a radical move. And the people of the region and the world is basically watching for a radical move. Because all the indicators are there. I mean, they've been talking about it for long enough, and we can see that the pressure's been up. So you look at the pressure, and then remember, what are you going to do? They always say, follow the money. Al Sudani is going to have some key words tonight, or this afternoon. Okay, so anyway, reports more reform committee. Okay, this is an interesting one. How's this go? Okay, reports more reform committee announces 22% growth in tax revenues, with revenues reaching 4 trillion. Dinars, of course. That's what they use. But the bottom line is why is that important? Is that tax revenues, remember, Iraq's valuation is based off of oil. That's what a lot of articles are saying. We have 90%, 85%, 95%, all oil, and that's all there is. Well, that's not true. There's non-oil, and there's tax revenues. Okay? So that valuation at 322 for the dinar back a long time ago was based off only oil. Now they have non-oil, they have the growth. Guess what? They're not even talking about the gas, and they haven't included that just yet. Iraq has a massive amount of revenue streams, all digital, electronic systems. We went over all that stuff. So keep that in mind when it comes to the valuation, a real effective exchange rate, because they're going to be able to use real fundamentals that the auditors, the global auditors, that's what they do. Oliver Wyman, Ernst & Young, they don't make mistakes. They back their work. So take it seriously. I think everybody really should. This isn't just dinar guru land. This is for real time. This is going to be big money, and it's going to have a global impact. And that impact is going to affect the region. It's going to affect the citizens, and it's going to affect the globe. And mark my words, I think I'm going to be spot on this one. But don't shoot the messenger, you guys. Just do the best that I can, report the news. It says this. He says the Higher Committee for Tax Reform announced today, Friday, a qualitative leap in tax revenues. He says, while indicating that Iraq is on the verge of ending the problem of similar names through advanced digital system that puts an end to procedural errors. In other words, get off the paper, get on digital. Okay? Basically, the amount of money that's going to be going through there, you're not going to be able to do it, pencil and pen. You're not going to be able to do that. Okay. It goes on, it says there's a clear indication of improving tax policies, enhancing collection efficiency, and simplifying administrative procedures, explaining these reforms contributed to reducing corruption. Like I said, accelerating the completion of transactions, so moving things quickly, in addition to using incentive decisions such as exemptions or from taxpayers, from fines and interest, which prompted many of them to settle their financial dues voluntarily. So in other words, they made it worth their while. Look, get involved, get your stuff cleaned up, and let's go to do business. It says the coming period will witness the resolution of 3 major problems that have long burdened taxpayers, in addition to ending the problem of similar names. A digital tax inquiry system will be adopted, allowing taxpayers to know their financial status electronically without need to review the authority. Company data will also be made available electronically to the government departments, which enhances transparency, facilitates inquiry processes, and supports the investment environment. These guys have been working on this digital transformation for a long time, and it sounds like the roosters are coming home. It says the tax policy in Iraq has faced major challenges, most notably tax evasion. Oh, the corruption, which has led to the budget being deprived of huge revenues. I mean, that's a lot of money, you guys. The tax revenues could equate to the amount that there's 4 million barrels a day going out. I mean, come on, it's been a lot. Okay. So aside from the deprived of the huge revenues, they say in addition to bureaucracy that hinders the efficiency of collection. Okay, so that if they're on a paper system, bureaucracy just gets in the way. So there's a lot of money that goes in and out that you don't know about. It kind of sounds like here. But anyway, Al-Jabari stresses that these steps represent a qualitative shift in tax administration as they contribute to building more efficient, or fair financial system, enhances trust between the state and the taxpayers, and prepare the ground broader reforms in the economic, gosh, Brett, you guys, economic system. A little tongue-tired there, everybody. So anyway, the tax reform is basically going to be a reflection of a beginning of a new phase, and it says in which taxes are transformed from a burdensome burden into an organized process based on justice and technology. Sorry, you guys, but some of the stuff, translations are just really hard. But hey, is this not another indicator that technology is at play? I would say that everything that they have is designed for what? Accuracy, transparency, efficiency. I mean, the speed in real time. Iraq's got a new system is at play, and there's no denying it anymore. And there's no change for it, and there shouldn't be, because these guys deserve what they deserve. And I think it's time. Iraq has natural resources that are just an unbelievable amount. And you're going to hear something from Al Sudani regarding resources too, because natural resources, the country has an amazing amount. But in the way the terms come, when I talk about it, when you get to that point, you're going to see it's a little bit enlightening. I hope it is anyway. All right, so this article, it says collapse of trust in Kurdistan government prompts employees to demand their salaries from Baghdad. Remember I was talking about pressure, right? So now that the system, think about it, the budget law was passed, put in the Gazette, Article 12, 2C, has already been in the Gazette. But we haven't seen the results of it yet. But it's effective as of the 18th of this month, right? Effective, hasn't seen it yet. Okay, how's that work? Where is it? Are they still doing trade? Well, I guess so. But again, I'm not going to get into they haven't made it public yet, or have they other aspects going on because of contracts that may have ended as of yesterday, and they start anew in their new week, and they tell you that the new week begins for pumping oil, right? We'll find out to see if there's a correlation. So basically, there's popular protest movement in Suleimania has directed an urgent appeal to the governor of the central bank, demanding that opening of the federal banks in Suleimania and Halabja to enable salaries to be paid directly through the Iraqi banks. So they're protesting, and they don't want to go to the Kurdistan region because of the corruption. No wonder Barzani's yakking lately, right? He says to enable salaries to be paid directly through the Iraqi banks. And this source confirms that the protesters categorically refuse to deal with the Hisabi project of the regional government. There's a name for their new electronic platform. Forgive me, but here nor there. It says they would prefer to bypass it completely in the process of receiving salaries, which reflects the depth of the crisis between employees and the Kurdistan regional government. These developments represent a radical shift towards normalizing dealings with financial institutions affiliated with the federal government within the region, which was difficult to imagine 10 years ago. So now it's different than 10 years ago. So if you were in 10 years ago and you see all this going, and a lot of folks out there in the world, they like to say, well, blah, 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 I've heard this before. And I like to laugh and say, well, I guess that you really don't know what you own. Because if you're paying attention in real time, you're going to see that this isn't like before. This is far more advanced, and I think you should get on board. It's not too late. Here's a really, really good article, you guys. It's about 4 pages long. But I'm going to get through just the bullet points, because you can come into Patreon and into Discord, and you guys can get the whole thing. And I suggest that Anybody that hasn't read it, even if you do have a membership, I think you guys might want to read it a couple of 3 times. And I'm going to get into some key points, and I think it's powerful information. I think it's really, people need to understand that some of the language is really difficult to understand, and if you don't have the experience to understand it, or the background of why they talk the way they do. I do. I have like 30 years of experience because I've been in the markets for 30 years, 32 years as a licensed professional. Okay, and I do that on a part-time, and I do work for helping people, just like I do here. I try to bring hope. I try to give the truth, and I tell it like it is. All right, so thank you very much for being with us, but this one here is important, and I hope everybody sticks around long enough to be able to absorb it. Al-Sudani, okay, this came in about 1 o'clock in the morning, so I was working late last night, and I get to set the stage is that, hey, we all have family, we all have jobs, and we all have to do our content. Every single member in Militia Man and Crew have a real life, and we all have other things going on. It's not just we make this our daily whole life, but a big part of it, really a big part of it. Why? Is because we're passionate about it, we give the truth, and we know what we own. Why? Because we can see it. We put all the pieces together, and it's a massive web. It's a global issue. So keep that focus, you guys, because it's really a true story. But here, this is going to be important, is that Prime Minister Mohammed Shialdana stresses today, Saturday, the importance of a dialogue. Remember, this is at 1 o'clock in the morning. I get this. So when I say all those things, listen, it says Al-Sudani, his office, it says basically that at the Baghdad International Dialogue Conference was launched in capitals Baghdad. It was organized by the Iraq Institute for Dialogue under the slogan, Communication for the Development and the Regional Stability. They're going to have communication as a big component because it's going to be electronic and digital communication, and the regional stability, because what they're going to try to do is be somewhat of a mediator, a platform for trade, okay? And so that's why they talk about things like that. But it says it hosts a large number of researchers and interested figures from Iraq and around the world. It says here that the government is stressing the adoption of principles in dialogue and its dealings with local, regional, and international challenges. So that's inclusive. It's like again, the locals as the citizens, regional as the countries around it, and international. So they're talking about opportunities. They're maintaining principles and positions to the most prominent issues, and even the regional issues. He goes on and says, they want to meet the aspirations of our people while preserving Iraq's principled positions at the region and international levels. So the Prime Minister stresses that we adhere to a policy of balance, and we have faced many outbidding and unrealistic proposals, devoid of foresight and responsibility, as we work to adopt a delicate balance in order to rid Iraq of the consequences of being dependent on steps that do not take into account the interests of our will of the people. Okay, so Sudani gets into it. He points out that Iraq is determined to make strides in the path of development and reconstruction, which is a path that cannot be delayed or postponed. And we have also proceeded with major strategic projects, most notably the development path, which is an economic lever that will work to support stability. Noting that the development path constitutes an opportunity for integration and partnership and neighboring and regional countries to enhance Iraq's historic, economic, and cultural status. The Prime Minister goes on and says, we succeeded in launching and encouraging dialogue that are closer to the Iraqi arena, most notably the dialogue between the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Iran. Okay. He points out that trade, cultural, economic exchange with neighboring, sisterly, and friendly countries is the most prominent element building civilization and raising the value of natural resources. I can't stress that much. that point right there. Make sure you go back and rewind if you have to. Okay, stressing that the importance of the role of the development path is a project for Iraq and the region and a tool to enhance exchange between its people in various dimensions. And the Prime Minister stresses also supporting and encouraging everything that is being proposed within the framework of enhancing dialogue and making ideas a platform for convergence and mutual understanding. You know, I'm going to back up a little bit really fast if this doesn't take too long. But I'd like to say, though, that obviously you guys will break it down a little bit. You know, the development path is a development road project. We talked about an economic lever that will work to support stability. That was about all the commercial, industrial, residential complexes, all the food that goes with that, all the gas stations, all the businesses, all the support businesses, all the trucking, all the couriers, all that stuff, you guys, all the street vendors, all the shops that have to support all that. You guys realize this is a massive thing. When they talk about 1 million jobs, and if they literally have a new million jobs in 10 years, that's going to equate to a lot more than 1 million jobs. All right. Hence, they want to bring back the country's, enhance its historical. Okay. Well, first off, they have integration, opportunity for integration, partnership with neighboring and regional countries. That's kind of like a reconciliation. Right? We talked about Saudi Arabia and Iran. Really? Those are they've been having problems for a long time. But Iraq, as the mediator, got them in the circle. Right? It sounds really good. And historical, economic, and cultural status. Remember, economic is about business. That's right. That's it right there. Right? Cultural status. Think about it for a minute. Doesn't Iraq have like millions and millions and millions of tourism? Religious tourism in Iraq? Absolutely. They all know this. It's going to be massive. Okay, so he says, we succeeded in launching and encouraging the dialogue. And remember, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Islamic Republic of Iraq. But here he comes back and says, focus in on this with me for a minute. It says trade, cultural, economic exchange with neighboring, sisterly, and friendly countries is the most important element in building civilization and raising the value of natural resources. Raising the value of natural resources. Well, we know that gold's at $2,900, right? Well, okay, but think about it this way. Iraq is going to raise the value of their natural resources. Isn't that the way of saying we're going to value our resources in dinar? Because 1310 is not going to happen in the world. So if they raise the value of their currency to their assets, like we've been talking about, the oil hasn't been pumped out yet. It's supposed to start, but isn't that value for those new oil pumping out of Iraq, all the rights of the citizens going to go out through those ports, and they haven't done that yet? Well, think about it for a minute. Think of that long, but I'll tell you what, it's huge, okay? Natural resources, the valuation of that is going to be the key here, because that's exactly what they're saying, value of natural resources. They're going to raise the value of natural resources. So in other words, what they're going to do is raise the value of their dinar, because that's what they're going to be doing trade in. They're going to be using trade. They're not going to have any dollars. Remember, our administration stopped the dollar now. IMF requirements, right, is to do cease and desist multi-currency practices. That's why you have all these factions and all these people going. They're barking. Their gravy train's going away. And finally, what do we have? Barzani's at the table. He's all like, "Woo, we're all on the same page. Let's go." Interestingly enough, I think the neighbors are having an interest in this, because I think they see the writing on the wall. We have to put our differences aside and let's do business. And so look, in my view, they're not going to be doing this at 1310 exchange rate. I just don't believe that at all. If I'm wrong, well, I can eat crow, you know, I guess I can. But it says to me, likely it means raising the value of their currency. And by doing so, those countries will be positively impacted. All the ones around the region will be positively impacted. Having a dinar, even in relatively small amounts, will have an impact on those countries' economies alongside Iraq, just as it will have an impact globally. You guys, this is really a powerful article. Comes in at 1:20 in the morning. Samson just rocked my world this morning. I was like going to bed. My eyelids are hanging down. And I'm like going, what? And I saw that. I go, wait a minute. That's awfully early. I'm up late. So anyway, so I stick around for a little while. It says Nishavan Barzani Development Road Project aims to build a more prosperous and stable Iraq. So Barzani renewed on Saturday, so he's now on board. Region's full support for vital development road project. So he's jumping on board in Iraq, describing this project as the right step towards a brighter future for the country. He says, we in Kurdistan region have always believed that political and economic stability for all of Iraq is a common national interest. And true development cannot be achieved without integration between Baghdad and Erbil, as well as between Iraq and its surrounding countries in the region and the world. He just talked about what we just said, you guys. Development cannot be achieved without full integration between Baghdad and Erbil, as well as between Iraq and its surrounding countries in the region and the world. Aren't those the neighbors? Iran, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Syria, elsewhere, Jordan? Yeah, it sure is. Okay, so from this standpoint, we affirm all full support for this major development road project. The development path, as they say, that is as it can be. Okay, he goes, we look forward to becoming a model for cooperation and construction between all regions and components of the country. And it says from the port of Zakho to Al-Fa, as well as between Iraq and its regional and international partners. So, hey, look, the president of the region states this. He goes, Iraq, with its strategic geographical location and its wealth of natural and human resources, has a great opportunity to become an active and major economic center in the region. So Barzani's, he's finally coming clean. I think he knows it. He's probably held out as long as possible, but I think he knows better now. Okay, so as well as important bridge linking the Gulf of Europe and with the East and the West, he's going on. It says to diversify Iraqi society is a strength and a wealth. So basically, Iraq can make this project an opportunity to overcome all national, religious, and sectarian differences and make it even a great force for all Iraq, enhancing the country's economic and political and strategic positions. It is also a correct step towards building a higher future for all Iraqis. So, of course, Kurdistan's on board. And I'll give the last bullet point. Our support in Iraqi Kurdistan for this region is not only for an economic perspective, but from a strategic perspective, because in our view, it's a step towards strengthening the concept of Iraq as an effective state in internal and regional security and stability, and an influential economic power in the Middle East and in the future, and it can become a global economic power. And then, you guys, again, here's another one really fast, is that Mahar Saleh, Iraqi banking reform needs to enhance transparency and governance. So the advisor, Saleh, to the economic affairs. The operations carried out by banks operating in Iraq depend largely on the confidence of international correspondent banks in the local banking sector, which necessitates the need to provide great protection for Iraqi banks. These measures are what everyone is looking forward to in the near future to achieve stability, growth of the Iraqi banking sector, and integrate, again they use the word integrate, effectively into the international banking market. Okay, you guys, that integration, Al-Sudani used it, his advisors using the word integrate, as you can see. And if you look at the collective, you can see that this is coming to an end, and they're moving forward. So the last thing here is that I want to go back to that the pressure that you saw from the new administration, putting pressure about let's get the oil moving, right? There's articles that support that was sort of a threatening thing. So Baghdad comments on Washington's, it says, threats not to resume Kurdistan oil. It says all recent contacts with U.S. administration did not include any threat to impose sanctions or any form of pressure on Iraq. I think they just put, business, like, hello, let's do business. That might be the pressure they're talking about. All right. So it says Baghdad and Erbil, who have direct knowledge of the issue some people were talking about. He says that they have 8 sources. It says that increasing pressure from the new U.S. administration was a major driver behind the Iraqi oil minister's announcement last Monday that the exports from the region would resume next week. So basically, today's news, I think it seems to shake things up or what. I mean, that's how I look at it. I don't know. Let's see what the day brings us today on Saturday. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Oil is supposed to flow. I think the salaries are supposed to get paid, and I think the pressure has been on. We went through a laundry list of all the different head people, starting early hours of the morning, bringing us news about what's going on, and I haven't even got to my news from this morning. I mean, I was here at 1 o'clock in the morning till about 3, but the bottom line is that stuff comes out fresh because of time zones. It's fascinating, you guys. It's not a problem. But look, we're going to keep talking about it. We're going to keep bringing it. We appreciate everybody being with us. I hope you guys like it. I hope if anybody's out there's new or hasn't been here and this is the first time, hit the like button and subscribe if you like. Come back, see us. Please check us out at patreon.com. Check our Discord Militia Man chat room, and we'll see you soon. And you guys can look in the material information below if you guys would like to help. All donations are welcome. Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, to help take care of the crew. Thank you very much and enjoy your day. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.